now. I'd like to thank Mike Ferrantino and the guys from Love and Reverse doing my theme for the A Game. Now on episode 102. Welcome aboard. I'm Rob Akinpour from the Shared Universe Studios here on the Jersey Shore. Gentleman has not joined me in 3 years, and the last time we were at an older studio. Yeah, can you believe that time? It's been 3 years since you came on my podcast, and we had pretty much the whole band, and we even had Pete Wood coming in from where he was. And now this time around, you're here for some really good news because the band Kanak has a new EP coming out. They're going to be doing a show very soon, and we're going to talk about a lot of things involving the band. Tom, thanks. Welcome back.
Wow, I can't believe it's been 3 years. I thought for some reason I thought it was like a year ago, but I guess time flies. I'm always grateful to be on, and I promise this time a lot less prison talk. I think the last time we were on there, we had some really inappropriate things that Joe may have said, and there was some weird clown thing. I don't know. This time it's just me. I've talked to those guys. They're not allowed on the air, and we're ready to go.
If you'd like to go back and actually watch it, if you're into that kind of stuff, sign up for my YouTube channel. It's there for you, and it is entertaining to say the least.
The funniest thing about that, and I think I mentioned it on the air, was we had a big meeting before, and we were like, listen, we are goofy. We can't be goofy on the air. Let's be serious. And 10 seconds in, Joe's like, have you seen this weird clown thing I have? And I was like, oh.
But but that is part of who you guys are. There's the two sides of you, I think, Tom. It's like you can be very intense, but you also could just be this riot to be around with Joe and the guys. And I think it's a great dichotomy for you and for the band.
Oh, thanks.
Absolutely.
They do not think I'm funny. They think I'm
really?
Yeah. But Joe is the quirkiest sense of humor of anyone I've ever met. I never know whether he's being serious or not. When I first met him one time, I had recommended a pillow for him because he was having some neck problems. And the next time I went to his house, he had a big medical brace on his neck. He was like, oh, and I'm like, what is he? He's like, that pillow. And he was just messing with me. He just So
I've known Joan Rowley for too many decades. That sounds exactly like Joe. Gotta love him for it. The setup, this one, I think this is appropriate. There was a recent documentary that came out about my old radio station. I'm actually wearing the shirt from my new radio station, Jersey's Rat. There we go, Jersey's Rat Radio 95.9 The Rat. But back in the day, FM 106.3 WHTG was recognized by Brian Johnston of USA Today and the Asbury Park Press with a brilliant documentary. Go watch it if you get a chance. And it just so happens Tom was involved. They interviewed Tom as one of the people they wanted to talk to about HTG. And I think this clip's going to set up where we're going with the interview a little bit. If I can get the clip ready, it's going to start with Mike Marone talking, and then you'll hear from Tom talking about HTG and his experience. Fire it up.
If it was good enough to play, it went on a list. Went in a regular rotation.
In the beginning, you could go there with a cassette, and they would take the cassette and transfer it to a cartridge, and they would play your cartridge on the radio because you didn't have a CD or you didn't have any other vehicle. You just made it on a cassette.
It's interesting to look back on that whole thing and look in the press clippings and looking back on Well of Souls, because to get to here, you got to go back a little bit and kind of understand your journey, because I think looking back in that time, it was all about music for you. It's not that now. I know you love doing what you're doing with Kanak, but there's more of a balance to your life. Is that an accurate statement?
Depends on which day and which time of the day, but I try to have a better balance. After Well Souls sort of drifted apart, I got married and had 4 kids in 3 years, and so I took some time off from performing, but I never stopped writing. So, and I realized I really didn't like not having music. I needed it. It was really a part of my DNA, who I am. So I was always writing on the side, and I wrote some ginormous epic album, and then that came out, and then I started to play with Joe, and then started to play with Pete, and then all of that led to here, and now we have Steve Brown on drums and Johnny Rayo on guitar. So it's a guitar monster army.
No doubt about it. I mean, between Johnny and Pete Wood, without a doubt, a monster army going on there.
Yeah.
Just does it feel different compared to where you were back then?
Yeah. Well, it's different now for a lot of reasons. One, I'm grown up a little. I'd like to think.
I think we all do a little bit.
It really also depends on who you ask. Yeah. If you ask the wrong person, they would say no. But This is like, you know, a really good balance of band. Everybody is a pro, everybody brings something to the table, and everybody fights for what they believe in. And so it's really a truly balanced band, where in the past I was, you know, there was one or two guys and it was really their band and the other guys were just there. But this is everybody fighting constantly to get their way.
Right. But it's still your name, although you made it Kanak. Yeah. It's still, this is your baby, but by making the band name Kanak, it encompasses everybody, which I think was a great move.
And we like a palindrome.
Oh my God, that's right. I didn't even think of that. Well played, sir. Well played.
That was the single selling point for me, because I like a palindrome.
So you come up with that. And the other interesting thing, the long line over the A, so everybody knows it's Kanak, and not to be confused with a couple. It's interesting. I didn't realize this. There's the Kanak band over in India, and then there's a singer in Indonesia whose name is Kanak. I'm like going, what are the odds?
So I asked Joe, like, Joe, there's no other bands out there with this name. And he's like, nope. And so we decided to go with it. Turns out there's an entire genre of music in different parts of the world that are called this. It's a type of like folk music in some countries. So,
and then you find this out and you're like, what have we done? What have we done?
Oh no, we totally see the record there as well, and hope that maybe we sell some in Indonesia.
There you go. No, there you never know. You steal a few thousand records there. It's good marketing.
Yeah, I think that they're going to listen to it and be like, oh, this is not folk music.
No, it is not. But to give you an idea of what the music is, if you've not heard Tom's band, I want to go back to 3 years ago. I'm going to play one of the songs from 3 years ago. Looking back on when you did Change, which is kind of a cool video, because it's a video within a video. You've got the television screen, you got the images that are going on there, and it's a lyric video on top of it. But the song itself, lyrically, is very powerful. And you wrote that during the pandemic, correct?
Yeah, I did.
So, I mean, obviously, writing about what's going on at times, but yet I listened to it, just the last couple of days, and I'm going, the lyrics still apply today. I mean, that's the haunting part of what you wrote.
Yeah, it's part of a core belief that I have, and I think I see it from time to time. But during a time of crisis, it gets a little bit worse. But you have to, that Gandhi quote that I think they attribute to Gandhi is, be the change you want to see in the world, and it really comes down to the only person you can change is yourself.
It's so
and
true.
If you change yourself, then that's really your contribution to the world. That's all you can do.
You're dead on. And sometimes not everybody gets that concept. And I think at times I've forgotten that concept. I think more so the last couple of years, and I would even say the last couple of months for me, it's definitely been like, look, if you continue to change, you will continue to move forward and be the person you always want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well said on both ends. With that in mind, here is Tom Kanach and the band Kanak. This is the video for Change. We got a new song from them coming up at the end, but check this out on the A Game. Enjoy.
Start time that's not ignored. In the deep and darkest depths of night, we all must find the light and breathe it into life. 'Cause there is a love we have inside. We can find strength when we combine. We need to change. We need to change. Each of us waiting to decide when we will change. When we will change. But we must change.
Great stuff there. Tom Kanach, lead singer of Kanak, is here on the A Game. Great line. We can find strength when we combine, which I think is a message that we really need to drive home, especially now in 2023, approaching 2024.
Thanks. I forgot all of those lyrics. I haven't listened to that song in a long time. I'm pretty good.
It's sort of like, yeah, I did write that. Oh my God. Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like after you record it, then you move on to the next thing and you're, you know, whatever. And I hadn't listened to it in a while.
Wow. Well, speaking of the next thing, obviously you're promoting the next thing. There is a performance that'll be coming. If I can get to the photos here, we're going to pull up a photo number. Where is it? Number 4, please. Thank you very much. And this is the event that is to launch the new release. It'll happen on November 4th. Matt Pinfield. Yeah, that guy from MTV from 120 Minutes. You know him very well. He's making an appearance there. The band will be playing live. And still some tickets available if you want to make up the trek to Garwood, New Jersey. I guarantee you're going to have a good time. And you did a limited run of CDs for this show, did you not, Tom?
Yeah. So originally we were going to do a big release and have this be our release and everybody shop the record. And so what happened was we had gotten some interest in the interim. And so we're working out the deal, the negotiations for that. But
nice.
What it looks like now is we have a couple of hundred CDs that we printed for this show for our friends and our fans and things like that.
Great.
And then in March, we're going to work a couple of singles off it, January, February, and then in March, I think a full record comes out with an additional 4 or 5 songs.
And you actually worked with a really, really good veteran. And as somebody who's a huge fan of Smithereens, and I still say 11 is one of the best albums the band has ever done. Bravo, Jimmy Babjack, and the crew for that album. I mean, Ed Stasium, who's got a resume that, for anybody who doesn't know, he's produced 3 of the Ramones albums. He has done Living Colors Times Up. He did, like I said, Smithereens 11. He's done albums for the Misfits and Reverend Horton Heat. He engineered Talking Heads 77, which is a classic album. So how did you get hooked up with a guy with that kind of resume and that kind of talent?
So Johnny Rayo, who's a guitar player, he had done a record with Ed some time back. And we were talking about, you know, what we wanted to sound like and what we wanted the record and the drums and the bass and everything to sound like. And Johnny said, you know, that sounds like some of the stuff that Ed's done. So we just reached out to Ed and we were surprised Ed listened to it. And he's like, oh, I really like this. I'll do this.
Wow.
And so we went out to Ed's place in outside of San Diego and we spent a couple of weeks out there with him and recorded, you know, the record. And then we came back, and then we ran into a little bit of a glitch. We, you know, had some issues with mixing, and then we finally found Kurt Reel to mix it from the Gripweeds. And I don't know if you know Kurt.
I know.
They're a great band, and he's a great engineer. He's also a great producer, but he's a great engineer and mixer. So he mixed the record for us and really did a good job pulling it together, and more importantly, putting up with my daily 1,000 phone calls.
It seems like it's an interesting blend because you know that Ed can take rock and give it that pop sensibility, and bringing in Kurt, who has major pop sensibility, and then Matt was involved a little bit in this process. So you put it all, yeah. Please elaborate on Matt's involvement.
So we've been playing the demos. So we have the luxury of knowing Matt and being friends with Matt, and Matt's always a supporter of original music. I mean, Matt supported all my old bands back in the day and was one of the first to play them and all that. So when we started doing this record, Matt was interested in hearing it, and he gave us a ton of advice and feedback, and we asked his opinion on songs and parts and things like that. So he was really hands-on with advice, and it was really great. So a lot of times as an artist, you get too close to the music and you like something because it means something to you different than how it sounds. And sometimes, you make a bad choice on the song or, whatever. And Matt was very good. And Ed was brutal, and brutally honest, but I mean, you need that. That's what a producer's job is.
Absolutely.
I in the past, I think I was very lazy on my vocals, and I was like, yeah, that's good enough. I did 2 takes. I think the second one's better than the first or whatever. I wanted like upteen hours. I mean, I think I would do like 9, 10, 12 takes on things. And Ed was like, no, you can do better. And I was crying in the fetal position. It was good time.
It sounds like, though, that was exactly what you needed in a sense. You were kind of too much in cruise control, and not a bad thing, but not a great thing either, because it's that. And then you listen to the end result. What was your first reaction when you finally heard?
So I was really excited about the record because like a lot of times you'll hear something in your head and then it never really gets to that, or it sounds so different that you just like feel like, all right, well, the next one will be better.
Right.
But very rarely do you record something and you're like, wow, that's what I heard in my head. In this case, it was better than what I imagined it would be. So
that's high praise.
Really good. Great sounds. Everybody played. We played live. It was because we didn't have the luxury a lot of times at Joe's of doing everybody playing live in the room. You do tracking where you put the drums down, then you layer all the parts on it. But at Ed's, we played spread out across his house. There was amps in all the different rooms.
Okay, so it's everybody together. It's not like, okay, one person's doing this part and then they're sending this part over. And it has to have a different feel. And I know this day and age, everybody can do their separate parts and nobody has to be in the same room. But there's something so organic about having everybody come together, and you're defending that process and saying, for us, it worked amazingly.
Yeah, and it was great. You could see the other guys, and when he's going to the change, instead of guesstimating it, you're feeling it, because it's happening then.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
The band is going to go back on the road, I would imagine. And I say that because if I can have photo number 1 up here, I was excited when I saw this. You actually did a music festival out of Mesa, Arizona. Everclear had headline during this 2-day festival. What was that like? I mean, obviously, when you started this, I don't think you were thinking maybe, what do you mean we're actually going to go on the road and we're going to do some stuff? You were probably thinking, look, this is going to be something fun. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to record some music, exercise my art. And I get the feeling this is sort of taking on more of a life than you ever expected.
So, you always want to be able to do the thing that you are. Like every other job I've ever had is always, my version of prostitution. It's what I do for money.
But I get it, though. I absolutely, when you're not doing your passion. Yeah.
But this is always what I've been and who I am, and I've always loved it. So in the beginning, I was like, yeah, let's see what happens. Very quickly, when the band started to gel and things started to fall into place, we all sort of looked at each other and were like, this could really, be that thing that we've been hoping for. And then, we went out and played the 2 shows in Arizona. We opened up for LA Guns on the Friday night and Everclear on the Saturday. And it was great. We had a great time. And we have a lot of stuff lined up for the new year. We actually have a business and a structure behind us this time. I've always been a great, musician, songwriter type person, really engaged and energetic about that. I've never been so good at the management side, because it's hard to manage yourself and it's hard to be aggressive with people about your music. You sort of get self-conscious, I guess.
No, I get it on one level, but I also know your background, Tom, and knowing that you are somebody who's got a certificate from Wharton, who's had 20 years in the IT field. It's not like you don't have it up here. So how does it not interpret from there to, do you think it's like a mental block in a sense, or is it, or like you just said, maybe you're just so close to it that having the separation is you're just better off that way?
Have you, when you have to write your own resume and you just look at the paper and you're like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to say about myself. I don't know. Like when people say, can you write a press bio? I'm like, I play guitar here. I mean, we rehearse a lot and there was a bunch of songs. So I don't know.
It's honest. It's honest.
Yeah, but apparently there's keywords you're supposed to use for metadata. I'm not sure.
Well, then that's the cool thing about having a team around you. And does that mean that, I hate to put the cart before the horse, but have we quit the day job yet? Or is it still like, okay, no, not yet. Okay.
No, not yet. And who knows? I mean, I have 700 kids. You know this, right?
Yes, this is true. We know 4 at least.
Well, I have a 5th. I have my 4 older kids from my first marriage who are all in their 20s and who are, amazing people.
That's
and
great.
I have a 7-month-old daughter.
Congratulations,
my Stephanie, and she's beautiful, but she's very stubborn and determined, like her mom. So while that's a really good thing for when she's older, when you're trying to hold her still and change her diaper, not such a good thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. It's like, okay, rock star and diaper changer. Trying to do that at the same time.
Yeah. It's really, you just course correct and adjust to whatever your life is. I mean,
absolutely.
you know?
And right now with your life, it's about the new album, and I know you're doing the junket, and I like to call it, you're doing the Jersey circuit. And I'll start with photo number 2, because started with my favorite people, Ed Wong and the guys at WRSU. That was a good start to get the word out on this. And also, and then this is where I get to do the we can take that photo down for a second, and I get to do this. Nope, this side. There we go. Jersey's Rad Radio 95.9 The Rat, where Tom and the band Kanak will be featured, thanks to Tom Hanley.
Yep.
And Jersey Rocks, which I think is a very good feather in your cap. So it's is it this week or next week you're being featured?
We started last week, this week, and then there's some things after the show. The show's next Saturday,
right,
at Crossroads, and some great bands. I don't know if you've listened to Dogpile and the Rabbit. They have a new record out that's really good. And then obviously the Gripweeds are going to be on the bill because they're one of my favorite bands. I mean, they play the music that I love, but I don't necessarily sing like that or sound like that, so I don't really play it. But I love that sort of, nuggetsy, Beatley stuff, and they're really good. So, and then Matt's going to jump up and do songs and some surprise stuff. And after the end of the night, pants optional, I've heard. I'm not sure about that. But
get there early, stay late. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Tom Kanach of the band Kanak is here on the A Game. Okay, random shots time. You've done this before with me. I just pull questions from pretty much anywhere that involves your life and some ilk.
This is usually when I get in trouble.
Yeah, this is where I get in trouble too, because again, my routine. I take a shot. Cheers to you and the band, by the way, for everybody. And every time I do that, it hits me. I'm going to start with this. I know the answer, but not everybody does. Some people do in your life. True or false? You were once told by a record executive, quote, "You're from New Jersey, so we're not even interested." Is that really true?
Yeah.
I'm not that I'm going to ask you to name names, but what was that like? You're walking in an office, and I'm gathering this is during the time of Well of Souls, I would imagine.
Yep.
Okay, so there you are. You're getting some interest, and back in the day, you were getting some interest. So, did he elaborate? Was it because of a Springsteen thing, and he was just tired of this, or he just had this preconceived notion, Jersey sucks and what have you?
It was essentially 3 things. One, at the time, I was playing music that was more, grunge-ish. Before grunge, and you're from New Jersey. And it's only Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen and Frank Sinatra, so there's no cool rock from New Jersey. You don't sing like heavy metal, and it was a Johnny Bravo part of the conversation where we want to put you in a suit and put you with these other guys, and we want you to be more like Poison. And I was like, I can't do that.
No,
I could never sing that high, even when I was like an infant.
Yeah, but like we'll go back to something you said before. You prostitute yourself in some levels. When it comes to the band, no.
So I had new other guys that I won't mention that sort of cut a corner and did something they didn't love, and I sort of watched them never really feel good about it. No. So to me, about the art, there's no reason to do it if you can't do what you feel and what you love.
Right.
If you're gonna, if I could never, I certainly don't have I'll use a music that everybody loves, polka. Yeah. I could probably play polka, but I don't love it. So I would just be a different form of prostitution and a little bit more bittersweet because it's so close to what I want to do, but so different. So,
I'll give you another example. I know your dad, he did doo-wop. So if he were to do something other than doo-wop, that's how he would feel. Like, oh, no, this is what I do. So why am I going to do something else? Why would I do polka then, for that matter?
Right. Yeah. My dad actually loved polka, and that's why I mentioned it. But he might have done polka had he learned to play the accordion, but he did not.
Right. So he wanted to be in a doo-wop band.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The musical influences were there pretty much since the womb.
Yeah, well, my mom was a singer in a choir, and my dad was a doo-wop singer. But I grew up with a lot of folk music and a lot of the Four Seasons, and Sam Cooke was my dad's favorite. And I grew up like getting chills to his voice still to this day. So
nice. Now I also know musically you're a big Beatles fan.
Yep.
And I really believe that even if you go to modern rock alternative music, there's still the influence of the Beatles somewhere in that music. But I also know you have an appreciation for that 80s, 90s era of alternative modern rock. You had to pick a few that would be considered some of your top songs from that era. What do you come up with?
Oof. 80s, it's really different for me. Like, I was a big Lords of the New Church guy in the 80s because we were friends with Stiv and Brian, and you know, I just saw Joe DiLorenzo from Mischief. He was a bass player in Mischief. We grew up playing music. Joe introduced me to punk when I was still just a Beatlehead. I went into the bathroom at the high school, and there was some punk in there listening to a Walkman, and he goes, "Hey, dude, you listen to this?" And it was Sonic Reducer, and I was sold. And
great song to get hooked to, by the way, too.
And then Joe knew all these guys, and we started to meet them, and it was really cool. It opened up a whole new world of music. So I went to that punk thing. I was never into like the 80s keyboardy stuff and all that, but you know, I liked REM. I liked I was obviously the Smithereens, Dramarama. I liked you know, any really guitar oriented songs that were well written, that had an emotion behind them, you know, passion to them.
A great example, like you said, Smithereens. And we go back to what we talk about with the 11 album. It takes you on this journey.
That's a great album.
It really is. I mean, you're on this ride with them from the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows, from A Girl Like You to Blue Period. And once you get on the ride, you're just kind of like, oh, I want to listen to the whole album. That's the mark of a great album.
Have you gone back? And I don't know if you've had a chance to do this yet, but you know, Ed Stasium just remixed Tim, the Replacements Tim record.
No, okay.
So originally, when that came out, Tommy Ramone, I think, had been the producer and mixed it. And the rumor was always that he mixed it with headphones. And the Replacements always hated the record, and I would say some percentage of the fans, majority of the fans, I think, did not like the mix, and I never did.
True.
I always thought it sounded weird and bad. And Ed remixed it, and it came out, I want to say, a month and a half ago, and it sounds amazing, like a different record, and I really love it. So I've been listening to that a lot lately.
That's one I got to find. And you know what? I may be going, hey, Ed, you got to come on this podcast just to talk about that. Oh my God.
Yeah. He's getting a ton of press for it. He actually, I talked to him the other day, and he said he doesn't ever remember getting, I mean, he was the engineer on Midnight Train to Georgia.
Right.
Like, Gladys Knight and the Pips. He did a Mick Jagger record. He said, this is the most press he's ever gotten.
That's kind of crazy. Like I said, we spouted out his resume earlier on this podcast. Yeah. I mean, the guy has been involved in some of the biggest albums, at least in the mod rock genre, in the 80s and 90s, and still never getting
and
now he's finally getting his just due for this, which I'm glad for. He deserves that. He really, really does.
Well, I mean, I didn't realize how integral he was to the Ramones. I mean, a lot of that jink, 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 that octave guitar stuff was him, and a lot of the backing vocals are him. And in fact, he sings on two of the songs on this record.
Oh,
and, wow. He played percussion. He sang some backing vocals, and it's really cool to hear, because I can hear that voice, and I can sort of hear it's the same, you know, from some of the Ramones records. So, you know, who would have thought?
That feels like a compliment that he wanted to step in and be a part of it, not like a diss or anything. Like, no, you got to do it this way. He was so into, you know what I mean by that.
He wrote a part on one of the songs that he wanted me to sing.
Right.
And for whatever reason, it was alien to the way I'd originally written the song. And I've been working on the song for a year and a half before we recorded it. And so I like really got locked in on this way this one melody went on the harmony.
Right.
And Ed was like, "What is wrong with you? Why can't you sing this?" I was like, "Please don't beat me." And I finally said to him, like, "Listen, you fucking sing it yourself." And he did. So that was it. But he was great. I talk to him all the time. He's really a great guy. He's a Jersey guy, same sense of humor. We were quoting Mad Magazine, snappy answers to stupid questions back and forth to each other. You know, like, it was really, really a good time.
Good
and
stuff.
that made it. So also that comes across on the record that we felt good, had a good time. You know, it was really cool so I haven't really done that in a really long time. Like, where all the guys go away, live in a single house together 24/7, and it was a great experience. I really learned whose hygiene habits annoy me the most, is what I'm going to say.
And the good thing about it is it didn't break up the band either, for that matter.
No, we're actually we all get along really good. I mean, we have strong personalities, but there's a value and a benefit to that. You know, you want what's best. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, you kind of setting me up for this next random shot question, because I will mention Pete Wood from Dramarama, who is just an incredible talent. And if you know Pete, this man is probably a bigger Jets fan than I am. Are you guys sick of him being the Jets fan that he is at this point?
So we don't talk about a lot of sports, because a lot of musicians don't like sports. I think they chose.
Really? You think so?
Sports. Yeah. I mean, you know, like I one time threw a football to a guy I was in a band with, and I almost killed him. He was like this, and it bounced off his face. I just assumed people could catch a football, but he couldn't. But I'm a huge sports fan. I mean, I played sports growing up and everything, and I was my dream was always music, but I liked sports just because I like that competition. But
Sure.
most of the guys are not really heavy duty sports guys. But Pete is annoying about some of the things like that.
Look, let me tell you something.
I think he just landed. I think he just got back. He just texted me before he got back to Newark. He was in California for a couple of weeks doing a bunch of Dramarama shows.
Yeah. I mean, this is that time of year where Dramarama's doing that. I think the Lost 80s tour, if I remember correctly. They've been doing it for the last several years. And
I think so.
Yeah, I don't even know who was on it. I know in the past they've done it with Animotion. They've done it with A Flock of Seagulls. I don't know who was on the bill this year. Pete, I apologize, or else I'd be mentioning the bands. But I just know from past years who's been on the.
It's over. So it's over. It's already, so you don't have to worry about it.
There we go. Okay. Moving back on to Kanak. There we go. Let me get photo number 6 here. No, not that one. There we go. And I had to get Rally in here. And of course, Rally being Rally here. But obviously, you're sitting there having some kind of meal. But it made me think of breakfast. And of course, being in Jersey, we all have our favorite diners and breakfast joints. Favorite breakfast joint for you? And does the meal include pork roll?
So I used to love pork roll. I don't eat it as much anymore. My favorite breakfast place in the world is a place that's in London. That's in Portobello. There's that marketplace, and at the very end of that whole road is a market. At the very end, there's this little place. It's really hard to get into, but they had the best breakfast I've ever had. The best coffee, the best scrambled eggs. It was really good. But around here, I mean, I love a good diner.
Yeah. Come on, Jersey thing. We all know
that. Yeah.
Got to be done. One more question in Random Shots. And as somebody who has seen probably every end of the spectrum from where you were in Well of Souls to showcasing at CBGB's back in the day to doing music today in 2023, which we all know is a lot different than when you did in the 90s. If you were going to give some advice to a young musician, maybe even one of your kids, if they wanted to get into music, what's the advice you would give somebody?
Probably. So it's different now in that there used to be no real way that you could circumnavigate the machinery.
Right.
Now you can. And I would tell them to learn about the machinery, but create your own machinery and figure out what's really important to you. Like, I don't know that I don't know that I would ever sell 1 million records, and I don't know that I would ever be in a private jet, but that's not why I started out doing music anyway.
Right.
I started out doing music because music is inside of me. I mean, I started writing songs when I was 5 years old. And I will write songs until I drop dead. But even if no one ever hears them, I'm writing songs because it's a channel, an outlet, a creation for me. I'm trying to create the perfect thing every single time. So I would just make sure that that's what if you love it, figure out what level that you want to get to and figure out the sacrifices it takes to get there and make sure you don't compromise your art and go.
Great advice. And let me go back for a second, because you say you took time off at one point. Do you regret taking that time off? Because like you said,
no. So I have 4 charming, smart, good kids that are in their 20s, and I got to spend time with them. I coached softball, I coached baseball. I was in a local community theater musical with my daughters, my twin daughters are 21. They're into theater, and one was the stage manager, one was Ursula, and I did a Broadway voice, King Triton in The Little Mermaid. I was did the whole thing.
I like that. Yeah.
My daughter lied to me though. She told me that had to sing a couple songs. There was 100 lines. And boy, those 12-year-old kids that were in the play, they were merciless. They were like, "You better not mess up." It was a lot of pressure.
No,
I during one of the rehearsals, I got stuck in Germany and I couldn't get back for some of the practice. Some of the screwed up a line, and a girl was like, "Hey, listen, you stepped on my line. I have one line. My parents are going to be here. Do not do that tomorrow night." I was like, "I'm sorry."
You need pressure from young kids. This is not what you need.
Yeah.
All right, I got one more. I'm going to do this just because, as we said, there is a sense of humor about the band. And if the band says Tom doesn't have a sense of humor, I refer to this photo. And I'm going to ask you, if you had to caption this photo by your bandmates, how would they caption this? Give me photo number 3.
Oh, I was just making a face because.
Oh, I know, but it still shows that. All right, look, I do have a sense of humor, guys. Come on, you're just kind of around.
If you take it's hard. There's things in life that are hard, and they can be super hard, or they can be slightly less hard by your approach to them, how you think about them. Like, so I try to keep it light and have a good sense of humor about everything. And I was at Joe's the other day, so I can't tell you what I can't tell you. I'll tell you another time about, we were doing something goofy. So
there you go. But I will say this: if you want to check out a really good band who's making a name for themselves, then you want to check it out. Guys, give me you're blocking. There we go. Thank you. Photo 4 one more time. It is happening.
By the way, that's not a real life size photo of Matt compared to us. He's not that much larger.
No, I know. It just happened to be the press photo that I got. And and with Matt on stage, you never know what he's going to sing, and probably will be a game time decision, for lack of a better term. But Tom and the guys will be doing all the new music that they work with at Stasium on, and a few other things as well. And congratulations on getting this done. This is great stuff.
Thanks.
And
really
yeah, you should be. I mean, absolutely, to get it out and get it out to the world. And in the future, we'll have you back on. We'll chance having Rowley and the crew together. Actually, it gives me an excuse. Pete has been here remotely, but he's never been in front of me live. I gotta have Pete in front of me, which is going to be dangerous, but pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tom, best of luck with this. I hope you go on the road and, go out to Mesa, Arizona, go to the places and enjoy this chapter of your life above everything else.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it, Rob.
You're quite welcome. Oh, by the way, Kanak will be featured next week on The Rat with Jersey Rocks with Tom Hanley. You can get The Rat anywhere. Get the app for your phone. Doesn't make a difference where you are. The Rat will have the app ready for you, and you can listen. It'll be 4 nights during the week. Next week, 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific at night, and you'll get to hear Tom talking with Mr. Hanley, and they'll play some of the music from the new album. Worth checking out.
Thanks.
That's a wrap here. I'm Rob Back-and-Forth. Tom, as always, pleasure. We won't make it 3 years after this, for sure.
Thanks, Rob.
You got it, man. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Take care of yourself. Have a great week ahead. And by the way, sign up for my YouTube channel. Doesn't cost anything. Get to see the past episode with Tom and the guys from 3 years ago. It's worth it. Take care of yourself. Good luck.